How's it going, everyone? We are talking about alien Earth and the mysterious connection that Wendy has with the Xenomorph. First, I'm going to describe this connection in more specific scientific terms, which will give people a better understanding of it, and the connection it may have to the original Alien film, and then we'll talk about some theories that could explain how this connection came about. So, let's get into it. In the first and third episode, Wendy seems to be able to hear a ticking noise or a buzzing noise, or in episode 3, a screaming noise around the xenomorphs or the facehuggers. In the preview to episode 4, it's confirmed. She says that she heard screaming. Now, why she seems to sense this is actually shown in episode 1, where she undergoes a hearing test, and it's confirmed that her ability to hear high-pitched sounds is far beyond the human ability. So she can hear more high-pitched tones, and so she can hear the xenomorph, the facehuggers, make sounds like that. But it's actually more detailed than that. Episode 1 confirms specifically how high of a frequency she can hear. They say 75,000 hertz. Now, that number has a certain significance that may tie events in with things that are shown in the original Alien film. So let's get into that. First of all, 75,000 hertz isn't just above human capability. It is way above human capability. And let me illustrate to you what that is. Consider a piano. The more to the right you go on the piano keys, the more high-pitched and hence high frequency a tone is. Now imagine the highest note on a piano. That's a pretty high pitch. That's pretty high frequency. But we're going to extend the piano even more to the right to imagine even higher frequencies. Imagine a quarter length of the full piano, approximately a quarter as shown here. In musical terms, this would actually be 2 octaves. Now we're going to extend the piano to the right by that amount. So we have a longer piano that can produce more high-pitched tones, more high-frequency tones. That new highest note is approximately the highest frequency that a human can hear. Now we're going to add another quarter on top of that. So now we've extended a piano to the right to the high frequency end by half of a piano's length, approximately half of a piano's length, or 2 quarters. In musical terms, this would be 4 octaves higher than the highest note. Now that new highest note on this extra extended piano, that is approximately the highest frequency that Wendy can hear. That is a lot higher than what humans are capable of hearing, and a lot higher than what humans are used to hearing, or what humans are sensitive to hearing. Now let's get the numbers involved. 1 octave in musical terms means doubling the frequency. The highest note on a real piano is approximately 4,000 hertz. If you double it twice, that's going up 2 octaves, you get approximately 16,000 hertz. And that's approximately the maximum that humans can hear. On average, younger humans can hear somewhat higher frequencies than older humans. Now, if you double it twice again, so another 2 octaves up, then you get approximately 64,000 hertz. Now the numbers you see on your screen are more specific. I'm using more simple numbers for simplicity: 4,000, 16,000, and 64,000. So this new highest frequency, 64,000 or 67,000 more specifically if you look on the screen, that is the highest frequency approximately that Wendy can hear. Now the show says 75,000, but in the context of sound frequencies, 67,000 and 75,000 is very, very close. So that is her maximum hearing frequency, around that range. Now there is another creature whose maximum hearing frequency is also in that range. And that creature also seems to have an uncanny ability to survive xenomorphs. And we're talking about cats. In the original Alien film, there are two survivors, Ripley and the cat. How is it that the cat manages to survive the xenomorph throughout the entire film? Now, there's different theories on this, but the idea that a xenomorph makes sounds in an upper frequency range that humans can't hear, but cats can, well, that gives us a pretty solid explanation for something that could have at least helped the cat in the original Alien film survive the xenomorph. And we also see a cat in Alien Earth. In Alien Earth, there are also two survivors, Morrow and the cat, two survivors in the crashed spaceship. Now, the cat isn't exactly the survivor because it seems to be somewhat consumed by the eyeball tentacle parasite, but it looks like it did survive the xenomorph. It just didn't survive the eyeball tentacle beast. So it's interesting if we'll see more about cats and their ability to survive xenomorphs in Alien Earth and whether that will be tied in with events that happen in the original Alien film. Now, all of this gives us a deeper understanding of what Wendy's ability is and how it might tie into cats and the original Alien movie, but it doesn't explain to us how come the other hybrids don't have this ability. Now, theories on this range from technical, biological, and thematic. When it comes to technical, it's just the idea of, well, her hybrid model, Wendy's hybrid model, was made first, and maybe there were some technical changes before the later models were built, and as a result of those changes, the others cannot hear the high frequencies that she can. And maybe that's all there is to it. But maybe there's something else. Maybe there's a biological reason. Maybe it's something specific to Wendy's nature. And here's one theory that I thought of and so far have not seen it in any other sources. Consider the possibility that Wendy is somehow related to someone who took part in the events of the movies Prometheus or Alien Covenant, and that someone, a relative, maybe distant relative of hers, ended up being host to a xenomorph from one of those two films. And that xenomorph went on to have other offspring and so on, and somehow that xenomorph is related to the xenomorphs we see in Alien Earth. That would mean the xenomorphs in Alien Earth are related to Wendy. That might also explain why in her fight against the xenomorph doesn't really seem to be trying to fight her. Unless he really has to. Maybe the xenomorph somehow senses that this is kin, and so he doesn't hurt her unless he really needs to. That's another mystery from episode 3 of Alien Earth that could be explained here. Now, if she is kin, we still have another question to answer, which is, well, she's not in a physical body, so how would the alien sense that she's kin? Is her DNA somehow there? I mean, if the only thing there is her consciousness, then are they saying there's some connection between consciousness and DNA? Between a soul and DNA? These are interesting philosophical questions, and seeing the philosophical questions that the show has brought up so far, it would not be surprising if this question were brought up as well. Now, finally, after the technical theories and the biological theories, we have the thematic theories. Thematically, how could Wendy and the xenomorph be related? Well, if we want to answer thematical questions, we should look at Peter Pan, because the themes of Peter Pan seem to be present so much in Alien Earth. Well, in Peter Pan, Wendy is Wendy, and Captain Hook is represented by Morrow. And the xenomorph is the crocodile. And it is through Captain Hook that they are connected, because both the crocodile and Wendy are enemies of Captain Hook. Although the crocodile is a threat to Wendy as well, they're more directly connected through Hook, although they are enemies of Hook for a different reason. The crocodile or the xenomorph seems to be a constraint on the quest for immortality, the refusal to accept one's mortality that we see in both Hook and Morrow and the corporation that Morrow works for. Whereas Wendy just seems to be someone that Hook or Morrow target, not because they have a specific problem with her, but because they have a problem with her boss, Peter Pan, or the boy genius. So maybe those themes will also be further explored and may hint about this deeper connection between Wendy and the Xenomorph. So I hope that helps you enjoy the show on a deeper level, and until next time.